In this episode of OG55, we are joined by Slimer and the Italiano. We're talking all about Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, Luke Skywalker. A lot of news is breaking in regards to Galaxy's Edge over at Disneyland in Anaheim. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down up next on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. Today, we're all talking all about Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge. I got a great panel with me today. George, welcome back, sir, with no beard. How you doing?
Doing good. It's always a good time talking parks, talking corporate studio, entertainment, all that good jazz. So it's always a good time.
Absolutely. Where can everybody at home find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There he is. And down below, we got the one and only Slimer back in the house. How you doing, Slimer?
Well. We're going to talk about Luke Skywalker today at Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge. How you guys doing?
Yes. Doing fantastic. Where can everybody at home find you on social media, sir?
You guys can find me right here on Orange Grove 55. You can find me on X at SlimeSquare84.
There he is. Okay, everybody, let's talk about this. This is crazy. This is really, really crazy. So this is what fans have been asking for. I mean, for the longest time. This is courtesy of our friend Mondo over there at Five Fires, the Cali Bay. Joining other familiar encounters in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, for the first time, a shadowy visitor will appear on Batuu for a limited time, wearing what seems to be Jedi robes. These are rumors. It might be the legendary Luke Skywalker, and it will be Luke Skywalker. I believe it's already been confirmed. We'll start with this story. We have another one kind of connected to this, but Slimer, I'll start with you, man. Like, what are your thoughts on Luke coming finally to Galaxy's Edge? This is what, 6 years in the making, bro?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, I feel like I'm waiting for the prequels all over again. I mean, but the one thing though that really irked me about this announcement was, and if you're a Disney fan, you got to read into the details. You got to verify and make sure that it's coming to your home park. So I'm really happy for the Disneyland folks. I'm glad they're going to be able to get this Luke Skywalker / R2D2 meet and greet experience. So happy for you guys. Okay. I say that because I don't want to sound like a hater, but let me tell you my disappointment when I found out this is only coming to Disneyland. Now, it might come to Walt Disney World in the future, but no announcement has been made yet. So I was slightly aroused. And then after that, there was a foul odor that killed that arousal very quickly. Walt Disney World shafted again when it comes to the meet and greet experiences over at our Galaxy's Edge. But OG, you came up with probably the best reason why, and I know you're going to get into that.
Yeah.
But George, I definitely want to hear. I know you're excited. You just moved to California, so congratulations. Yeah. You'll be getting the Luke Skywalker experience. Well, but if you still lived in Philly, how would you still feel about this?
Well, Slimer, real quick before we go to George, I just want to say you handled that absolutely beautifully. Where you threaded the needle. We're excited for Disneyland, but you wanted at Walt Disney World. We got Kendrick watching, so
yeah. Oh, so y'all ain't gonna let nobody disrespect the West Coast, huh?
You got to be careful with Kendrick around. You can't disrespect the West Coast. No, but I completely agree with you though. As a West Coaster, it is kind of weird that Florida is not getting this, at least as of yet. George, I do apologize, sir. I had to do a Kendrick drop. I had to.
Absolutely. I was waiting for it. I knew it had to have a drop somewhere. So for me, yeah, if me now becoming a Cali resident, obviously, this is great. Luke Skywalker finally into Galaxy's Edge. But to your question, Slimer, that if I was back over on the East Coast and I didn't necessarily come out to California as much as I did even when I was over there, and Walt Disney World was my home base that I was constantly going, and it's like, okay, well, that's nice that Disneyland's getting all this new stuff, but there's no change to Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios, and the big question is why. Now, again, OG kind of has that that possibility as to why, but I'll wait till he says it. But I have to say, just for Luke coming into Galaxy's Edge in general is a good thing. I don't know why it took this long, but at least Disney is maybe answering the call, so to speak, that fans have been like craving for since Galaxy's Edge opened. And it was just, we don't care about a specific storyline. We don't want just the sequel, trilogy intertwined in this land. We want to see, classic characters. We want Luke, we want Leia, we want C-3PO, we want Darth Vader, hell, give us the Emperor, something. So it's kind of nice to see.
You want to talk about arousal? You said you bring us the Emperor. That's actually a really good idea, bro. Whew. I can't only get so erect, George. I mean, Jesus.
you know what I thought of? Like, how about like Lando Calrissian? Get a charismatic Disney cast member to play Lando, and
yes.
I mean, he would bring all the girls to the yard. You know what I mean? Like looking all spiffy and like standing up, hey, how you doing? God, it's just so many opportunities, man. Do you guys feel? Let me ask you this: do you guys feel like the only reason they pulled the trigger on this is because on their last earnings call they reported flat attendance?
It's possible. I mean, it's possible. This is one of those things where it's such an easy win. Like they know fans have been clamoring for Luke and Leia and the OT characters. Mm-hmm. So maybe they were keeping it kind of in their back pocket, that wild card whenever they need it. Here you go, boom, pull the lever. Mm-hmm. It's possible. It's possible. I mean, go ahead.
Really quick, I just wanted to ask. Now, when it said a limited time, did it give dates? Like from X to Z?
I don't see the date. Do you know of any date in particular, Slimer?
Yeah, if you click on either Scott Gustin, I believe Drew the Disney Dude might have posted the dates as well. I know Jack did too. There you go. Yeah, March 28th. Debuts March 28th and it concludes on May 11th.
Okay, all right.
That's also for
the Luke thing.
Luke.
I don't know if they're doing them in concert. Maybe DSNY has.
Let me double check. Talk amongst yourself.
The reason why I'm asking is because it's very telling that they're bringing a character that they utilize for Star Wars Night, and Star Wars Nights are in, I believe, March, April. I got our tickets for it, but I wonder if it's going to intertwine with the Star Wars Nights, because a lot of people were saying, which has been for the longest time, they haven't been utilizing these characters for Galaxy's Edge because they saved them for the upcharge events.
Yeah,
so I think that's quite interesting too, that if Luke is going to be out and about, even though it's for a limited time, around the time Star Wars Nights are still going on, that's very telling too.
It says here, this is from our good friend Drew, the Disney Dude. Luke Skywalker will appear in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland Park.
Hi, Monster Hunter beat ho.
There we go, a little West Coast. At Disneyland Park for Season of the Force. So only for Season of the Force, from March 28th to May 11th. So you were absolutely correct, Slimer.
Okay.
Yep, it ends on May 11th. So, and that's right, like Slimer was saying, right before the 70th.
Yep. And then, as I said, and that is intertwining with Star Wars Night. So that makes me even wonder if people are even buying those tickets a lot for Star Wars Night.
Well, it could be that move. Yeah, maybe they need to. Maybe they need that. It's very, very possible. The ticketing hasn't been very robust. Hasn't been selling. My theory on Disneyland getting it only and Walt Disney World not. This is really the only thing that I got. Disneyland Resort is more of a locals park. It just is. I wish that it would attract more outside tourism. I think Disney could do more to do that, but it is what it is. It is more local based. So I think that's why we're seeing it, because when you have key holders that go 2, 3, 4 times a week, you got to keep these experiences, these parks very, very fresh. And that's why I think you see the holiday overlays at Disneyland, Resort. You don't really get those over there in Florida. I think that's another reason for those. So I think it's just the local the demographics of Disneyland Resort of people that just go more often. When you have a bunch of tourists who, it's a once in a lifetime guest or a guest who only shows up every like 3 or 4 or 5 years, you don't need to rotate these experiences as often. I mean, it's like, that's why I think also like 3D shows do better in Florida, because you don't have that constant rotation. So that's the best I got. Now, I'm not justifying it. I mean, I'm not saying that Disney should be doing that. I do think they should bring this to Florida. I think it's pretty crappy that it's not coming to Florida. I don't know the reasoning behind that. I don't know if it's like Disney World management that's preventing that, or if it's some other bigger play going on. I don't know. But my best guesstimate is that it has something to do with the local fan base. But yeah. It's interesting. What do you think, George? Do you think that theory is kind of off base, or do you think that might be something that?
I mean, it definitely, that would probably be the only thing that I could think of, as well, as because I mean, this is a pattern that keeps on moving forth, not just with Luke, but it also with the Mandalorian and Grogu, and they're still out around walking at times at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, but they, for Walt Disney World, you don't really.
Have you guys ever got Mando and Grogu over there?
Yeah, we have Mandalorian and Grogu, but we never got Boba Fett, and we never got what's her name?
Ahsoka. Did you get Ahsoka?
No, we never. Yeah, we never. That's another one. We can never go. We never got Ahsoka, and then the Asian chick,
Fennec.
Fennec. Yeah, we never got her either. So I mean, yeah, we got Mando, and like that's it. We got Chewie and Rey, of course, and the rebel spy that walks around that nobody even notices is there. But I think valid points with regard to bringing Luke Skywalker to Disneyland, because you guys do not have the churn that Walt Disney World has. Walt Disney World, I think, has like a 50% churn, right? So that means that 50% of the people that come are locals, 50% are tourists. Pretty high. I mean, 50% churn is not what Disneyland is seeing. I mean, Disneyland's churn is probably more like 20%, 30%. So like 70% of the people that go to Disneyland are locals going on a regular basis. So yeah, you're right. You got to keep that freshness, that newness, right? With regard to Luke Skywalker not coming to Walt Disney World in May, there's kind of a big thing that's happening in May in Orlando. Some people might have heard about it. If you watch this channel, you definitely heard about it.
Yeah.
And that's Epic Universe, and it's another park that's opening right across the street from Disney World. So like, I guess my question to Disney is like, what's the thought processes and not bringing the same event or the same experience, the Luke Skywalker meet and greet, and then the Skywalker Saga show to Hollywood Studios, to kind of not kneecap Epic Universe, because I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are going to go to the two different parks for two different reasons. But I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, like if I'm going to go to Epic Universe, I'm down here, I might as well go check out Luke Skywalker over at Hollywood Studios too. And you go check out this new Star Wars show,
Well, I think, Slimer, that is your question to Disney, but I think you have a much bigger question for tomorrow.
Just what the fuck did he do?
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Oh man, we haven't brought Cat Williams out in a while. I missed that drop, George. Well played, sir. Well played.
He's touring right now.
Yeah, I love him. He's brilliant. Yeah. He's a genius, dude. I love Cat. He's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. That's a great point, Slimer. The Epic Universe angle, right? This is something that's a pretty inexpensive thing. It's a pretty inexpensive thing that'll get a lot of ROI, a lot of return on investment. So I mean, why not? I agree with you. I don't think Epic Universe is gonna like kneecap the Walt Disney Company. I think Disney World's gonna be absolutely fine. Overall, it's gonna be fine. But if you could do little things like Luke and stuff like that, why not? Why not? We're not asking for a huge amount. This isn't like a massive investment. You gotta spend here, Disney. Just hire another cast, another actor to play Luke and put him in the Florida version. And it'll do very, very well. So yeah, it's bizarre to me. It really, really is bizarre to me. So
there's times where you could say, okay, maybe they're like beta testing out of Disneyland first to see how well it works.
Because that's how the Mando thing was. We got it first, and then you guys ended up getting it later, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So but I mean, it just makes me wonder why it takes so long.
I'm not sure. I'm really, really not sure. It's weird. I can only think of the demographics, the local fan base. And it's also weird too, right? Because Disneyland is already going to have a stacked summer with the 70th.
Mhm.
So like, why are you like overflowing the cup? And meanwhile, Florida has an empty cup over here. Like, like, can we
That's a really good point because Walt Disney World, I mean, don't get me wrong, like if you've never been, definitely check out Disney World this year because there's plenty to do, but there's a lot closing down at Disney World. You think you would want to make up by bringing in some new attractions to kind of fill the voids. But yeah, you think you'd want to fill the voids a little bit, Dinoland closing for, the Tropical Americas. And, Hollywood Studios is going to be losing, the Muppet Show. So, yeah, why, of course, Big Thunder Mountain is closing down. You got a couple of rides that are going to be closing down for long periods for refurbishment. Yeah, so I just don't understand why you wouldn't want to bring this to Walt Disney World. But, hey, you know what? I don't have a crystal ball. There's definitely something we're overlooking. I mean, can it be that simple? Can it just be that they decided not to do it? Or is there something more complex that we're overlooking? And we're just not privy to that information. But I mean, anybody in the chat that, anybody who watches this video, like if you have any ideas as to what this could be, I'm really interested to know why. Because, the thing is as a Disney fan, I was presented this expectation that we're both going to be getting the same thing by Bob Iger back at D23 when they announced Galaxy's Edge and, whenever I think it was 2019, 2018. It was a while ago.
Yeah, we got Galaxy's Edge in 2019. I think they announced it in 2015 at the D23.
Yeah. So, with that expectation set, I'm the one that's expecting things to come to both lands simultaneously,
Right.
by the expectation that Disney set. And, slowly they've been reeling back on that every time they bring in a new Star Wars character that doesn't come to, Walt Disney World. So, I mean, as far as like Ahsoka, I mean, I can get like why people want to go see Ahsoka. I'm more of an original trilogy guy. So I'm definitely looking forward to like the the Darth Vader meet and greet, Emperor Palpatine, boing, OG, and and Darth Maul and things like that. But Luke Skywalker is definitely bee's knees, and the fact that he's behind a paywall, they know, like they're looking at the data and they know exactly how much in demand that character is.
And especially because this is a version of Luke that is in his younger form. Right. It's not him in the sequel form. It's in the original, or even where it can kind of get part of the sequel, but like through the flashbacks. So it's still considered as the original, I guess you could say that.
Yeah, exactly. And it does tie into some of the Disney era stuff because it was, I think, Book of Boba Fett. We had that beautiful, like 2 episodes with him in it as a young Luke, and that was actually the best part of that whole show was the young Luke stuff with little Grogu. I love that. But that felt more like Mandalorian though than it did Boba Fett. It was kind of weird. But we got more Star Wars stuff. This is crazy. Disney says Shadows of Memory, a Skywalker saga, will make its debut on March 28th, but will continue past the conclusion of Season of the Force on May 11th. So this is a new nightly production show that will debut in Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland again on March 28th for Season of the Force. So it's debuting during Season of the Force, but it's going to stay beyond that to be a projection show. And it's Shadows of a Memory, a Skywalker saga. So I'm assuming this is going to be all the films. So prequels, OT, sequels, get a little Raylo in there, George. I know that's your favorite. But again, this is a cool idea. I mean, I love this. You have these beautiful, we call it rock work, but I think technically they're petrified trees, if I'm not mistaken. But to project stuff on those and have the music, the John Williams just blasting, I think it's gonna be beautiful. I really do.
Your selfies after someone mentions the Emperor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. There you go. Right. Yeah. Selfie. Absolutely, George. Absolutely. Petrified. But yeah, I think here. Look at this. This is kind of like, despite the Walt Disney World like snubbing, which is really shitty, I do commend Disney though I do feel like they've heard the complaints and they're trying to rectify these complaints with obviously Luke Skywalker, more entertainment in this land. these are the kind of moves I want to see. You know, these are good moves. My only quibble with this whole thing is, what about Florida? And that's a big quibble. I mean, you know, Florida should get this as well, but overall, the moves themselves, I really dig this stuff. What say you, George? And I'll go to Slimer in regard to the production show.
Yeah, absolutely. I love seeing that they're adding. You know, I always say small things could even mean in the biggest ways. You know, so even though it could be something very subtle, but at least Disney is trying to kind of fill the void, you know, into adding like into some of that, the meat and the potatoes in that boiling pot of water, if you will. And
when you say real quick, when you say sometimes small things, what would you say? Sometimes small things, what, George? Mean big?
Something
mean big?
Yeah, in big ways, yeah.
In big ways. Is that what Abby tells you to make you feel better, or no?
No.
I was just kidding, bro. I was kidding. Go ahead. I was just kidding. I gotta fuck with George. You set me up for that.
Of course. But of course, bro, this was the selfie. See, look, I'm standing right next to you.
Exactly.
But yeah, I feel like that, you know, Disney is, you know, trying to find ways to, you know, get people into Galaxy's Edge. And honestly, by having a projection kind of show tie in with the fireworks and everything, I think that's very clever that, you know, you could have the fireworks going off nightly, but you could have a different experience with different music, different projections, different storyline, just no matter like what part of the park you're in. And they're including Galaxy's Edge in that.
Well,
so,
yeah, no, fantastic point, George. And also Scott Goosen says here in the reply, even Disney says Fire of the Rising Moons, which is the fireworks show, which is actually the regular fireworks show that they just played Star Wars music with in Galaxy's Edge, will also continue on certain nights and is separate from this nighttime projection show. It's like they are going all in on this Disneyland Batu, and Florida has yet to see any of this stuff. I think it's ridiculous. I really do. Come on, Florida. Let's get on the ball here. You know what say you, Slimer?
Well, I'm thinking two things. You know, while George was telling us about the size of the boat versus the motion of the ocean, I was thinking about the concept of this show, which is Shadows of Mercury, Skywalker Saga.
Yeah,
Shadows of Memory, a Skywalker Saga. I think that what they want to do is they want to dedicate it obviously to the Skywalkers, but they want this show to be more of like a memory reel, or like if you're accessing your memories of the past. So I wonder if they're going to tie this into a more an even more complex concept or story, or if this is an indication that they're going to be changing the timeline of Star Wars, maybe perhaps to that one of you know, the Skywalkers, or Luke Skywalker specifically, being that they actually mentioned him and they're introducing him as a meet and greet. So I'd be really interested to see in what direction they take Galaxy's Edge and Batu, because I do think they are listening to the fans. I think this is a really positive change for Disney. I think that it's not too little too late. I was actually talking to George the other day on the phone, and we were actually talking about this exact thing. And, you know, the funny thing about Disney fans are they're really forgiving. If Disney comes around and does the right thing, Disney fans are willing to forgive and overlook. Look, they're bringing Luke Skywalker. People are obviously really happy about this. Even me, who only goes to Disneyland like once every, 3-5 years or something like that, because it indicates to me that Disney is listening to the fans. And even though this is 6 years after Galaxy's Edge opened, like, people are willing to go, all right, finally, like, you guys are listening to us, and we're really glad that you guys are bringing this as to Galaxy's Edge, because this is all we've been asking for this entire time, and we feel like what we've been asking has been falling on deaf ears. But as you can see, people are really excited about this, and we're willing to forgive and forget if they do the right thing. I mean, if Disney were to bring the Magical Express to Walt Disney World tomorrow, people would forgive and forget. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? Like, we're that passionate about Disney and the parks and things like that. What I don't like, though, is where they kind of slight Walt Disney World fans. And I kind of feel kind of slighted by this, because again, like with Epic Universe opening in May, and this being such a nice projection, and the fact that you guys already have a Star Wars firework addendum to the nightly evening is it's kind of like, it's kind of like getting knocked out by Mike Tyson. Like you don't even have a chance. But no, it's super positive. I'm glad they're doing it. I hope that this means that we're going to see more of the original characters. Although I do kind of wish they get away with this concept of them being behind paywalls. Yeah. I think that's kind of a little ridiculous. Yeah. But it might be due to demand. So we'll see. I mean, if you guys look at videos of Mandalorian meet and greets, I mean, he gets swamped. Like it's like Paul McCartney walking down the street in 1966.
It's like George walking through the parks, basically. Everyone comes up to George. Hey, do the Italiano spiel. Do the Italiano spiel.
Exactly. So maybe they're going to see what happens behind a paywall first, and then if he doesn't get trampled and mauled by fanatics, then they might release him to the general public. But we'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it's weird how they're kind of piling on this with the whole Disneyland thing, and then with Florida not so much. And I'm hoping like Gustin or somebody comes out with something to kind of explain this. What they're hearing. I might even maybe tweet at him and see what he says if he knows any reason as to why the Florida stuff isn't happening. Is this beta testing they're doing out here? Because, Imagineering's out here in California. These are kind of beta test stuff. And then if it's popular enough, then they'll move it to Florida as well. Or, what's the game plan? It's awfully strange. And like you were saying, Slimer, with Epic Universe, this stuff is kind of like easy little wins that you can do to sort of mitigate some of the damage that will likely occur, right? With Epic Universe. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, this is interesting, but I do feel though they are nicking away at that timeline. I mean, we're seeing it little by little with the Luke Skywalker stuff and all that. I think that they're moving away from it. I think that's fantastic. This land should be a celebration of all generations who love Star Wars. Slimer and I were of the OT era, but you have people like George. George, you're more of a prequel era guy, born in the 90s, right? And you have the young kids today that are more like the Filoniverse, and like Star Wars Rebels and all that, like all that stuff, man. You should be able to go into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and every age bracket, every generation should have something for them. This is a multi-generational franchise.
It's funny that now thinking of it, like I would have loved to have seen Galaxy's Edge kind of have the Fantasy Springs kind of feel to it, where it's one area that's dedicated for Star Wars, but you have 3 individual mini lands within the land. So you could have one section be for the original, then the other for the prequel, and then one for the sequel.
Yeah, no, I'm down for that. I mean, even the land as it is now, like it's big enough where you can have like, because I know that you don't want to have like conflicting stuff, right? Like at Disneyland, you can't have Mickey on Main Street and then Mickey like just 10 feet away in a different outfit, right? They've always done that where they separate them. Like you'll have Mickey maybe at the hub, but then you won't have another Mickey for a while. It'll be like, way out there, like, Toontown or something. Mm-hmm. So with this, you could do the same thing. You can have like Anakin and Obi-Wan over there by Rise of the Resistance or something, taking pictures with people. And then you can have on this end, you can have like Mando or, you can split the, eras up. You can do that here. It's big enough. It's 14 acres. So, I mean, I hope Disney kind of wakes up and does that. I just feel like this whole Galaxy's Edge thing, this is all very positive, but I also feel it's taking way too long to get things kind of moving here. Like, right? It's like how, I mean, this land opened 6 years ago. We're just barely getting Luke now. And only on one coast, So it's like, I don't understand why. And this is why I think it's a Lucasfilm issue and not necessarily an Imagineering thing, because Avengers Campus never had this problem. I mean, they were having these characters come out the day they would have Loki. They would have a Loki that coordinated with like his look coordinated with his look in that episode that week. Right. Premiere in Avengers Campus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And to have that kind of like level of accuracy and like, like flexibility, as Ebba says, right, is crazy. That shows you Imagineering can do it. So what's the hold up here? Is it Kennedy? I mean, I don't like to blame her for everything because I know that gets a little, I mean, a lot of people do that, but I can't really think of another reason because clearly Imagineering knows how to do this. The parks are not the problem. I don't think. I think it's the studio. I think the studio is the element here that's kind of dragging their feet. Now, George, I know you're a big Kennedy guy, but what do you think about that?
Well, I don't know. At times, like when it comes to Kennedy, I kind of say the same thing.
Just what the fuck did he do?
What did she do? What did she do?
Yeah. No, I actually agree with you because it always seems like the issues that's going on Lucasfilm right now in the studio portion is mirroring what's going on with the same intellectual properties in the parks. And it's like, is that a coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so. But with Avengers, if Loki season 2, episode 1, where Loki was wearing a specific outfit, the week of the premiere, they had Loki out in the park dressed in his uniform, whatever it would be. They have the characters out promoting and marketing what's going to be released on Disney Plus or in the theaters. So I don't know why it's such an issue for Lucasfilm, but again, it kind of falls back on possibly, and again, not to use her as a scapegoat, but it just seems like everything under the wing of Kathleen Kennedy, it just seems like it's just not working.
Well, it just feels like there is behind the scenes issues with like this kind of lean, like smooth machine. Like Marvel kind of has it, I know Marvel kind of dipped during the pandemic with Chapek and all that, but for the most part, Marvel is very nimble and kind of navigate. With Lucasfilm, it's like everything's an issue. Like they've gone through more directors than they've made movies. All the backstage, all the behind the scenes messes. I mean, you've had countless directors and people attached to various projects who have now left.
Every time a project gets announced, it's like, well, okay, great, it gets announced, but is it ever going to get made? No, because it always gets canceled.
Right. It's creative differences, and they're working on some other thing now, right? Like the Taika Waititi thing, that was the big to do for a while. Now who knows what happened with that, right? So it's like that whole thing. So I think that kind of stuff spills into this stuff. Lucasfilm has a hard time getting anything off the ground. So I can see that kind of mismanagement of the studio hindering their ability to sort of properly roll out, stuff like this in the parks. It's just crazy to me 6 years later. Go ahead, Slimer.
I think you're absolutely right. It has to do with the relationship between Lucasfilm and Walt Disney Imagineering. And there is a complete disconnect between what the two want to do. And the thing is they're probably looking to Lucasfilm for guidance. In the same way the Universal Studios looks to J.K. Rowling for guidance. Everything that the Universal Studios does with regard to the Harry Potter lands had to receive J.K. Rowling's signature of approval and her blessing, right? And if it wasn't up to snuff, J.K. Rowling had no problem telling you, like, you guys got to make this better. Like, this is the Harry Potter franchise. Some of the best fantasy movies to ever hit the big screen. And with regard to the novels, I mean, hundreds of millions of copies sold, right? So the standards were set really high by J.K. Rowling. And I think if like J.R. Tolkien was still alive, he'd have the same standards for the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But Lucasfilm is not given the proper guidance, and I'm going to blame it squarely on them, because when you compare the execution of Diagon Alley and what's the other one? Hogwarts. Yeah, Hogsmeade. Thank you. I'm 42. All right, like I forget my own name. When you compare the execution, the Harry Potter lands do have a more immersive experience into the worlds that they're trying to capture. I don't think that's controversial, right? Like they just do. Like it feels more encapsulated. There's a lot more detail with regard to the touching, the feeling, and the sights and the sounds. And while Galaxy's Edge does a really good job at that, Harry Potter Land just does it better. And nobody's complaining about anything because it incorporates the protagonist of the series, which is Harry Potter and his friends, which seems to be missing from Galaxy's Edge. So if they could just round it out with some of the the major characters of the saga, I think they could really remedy that that void of characters, and they just really just complete the overall theming of the land.
Well said. No, absolutely. And music is such a big element of Star Wars. it's a character in and of itself. As Christian Harloff, I really look up to Christian Harloff. I love his content, but he always said like the music itself is a character in the film, basically. And that's so very true. It's so very important. And you have a whole land, 15 acres worth of Star Wars here, and there's no music. I get they were going with the realism that you can hear the spaceships, and the sound packages are amazing. I mean, it really does sound like they're flying over your head and all that. But there should be, and look, if you want to make it sound more realistic, okay, you don't want to have like in like Fantasyland, you know, all the music is pumped through the bushes, and it's like this even like musical tone throughout the whole land. If you don't want to do that, you can just have a band come out like every hour or every few hours, some alien band, dun 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 dun, and just play music for everybody. And that would just, that little thing would make such a difference. But it's like a sin to have a whole land based on a franchise that music was such a big element of it that has no music. It's crazy to me. There's no music, you know. Go ahead.
Which I do have to say, speaking of Star Wars and music, a big happy birthday to the man who actually created the music, John Williams, 93 years young. So still going.
Still writing.
Yeah, he's still going. He's still going. Yeah, incredible human being, absolute genius. John Williams is, you know. I mean, what he's done for like not even just cinema, but just music in general and everything is just. He's a giant, you know, absolute giant. So
definitely the best composer of the 20th century. I mean, I don't think that's debatable.
Oh no, he's like another Walt Disney, like in his field for sure. You know, he's amazing. So yeah, I mean, there's some fixes here that they can do. Look, obviously you can't bulldoze and you can't put Hoth there now or whatever. I mean, there's certain things now that are done that they're done, you know. But there are things you can do to sort of make things better. So you can add more entertainment. You can add more eras, you know, in these lands. You can definitely add music of some kind in these lands. So we'll see.
As Star Wars lightsaber battles, you know.
There you go. Exactly.
Random lightsaber battles throughout the day. You know, one of the lightsaber battle choreographs, entertainment scenes or events, whatever you want to call attractions, I would like to see is, you know, there's a platform over there by the Black Spire. You know, so you look at the Black Spire, it's on your right hand side. Can't miss it. But if they were to do like a projection show / choreographed lightsaber battle, where it's Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, so you know you have two cast members representing each character, doing the lightsaber battles of you know the original trilogies. You know, maybe start with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and while they're fighting, you're seeing the fight on the Black Spire, and it's got the music and it's got the lightsaber clashing sound effects. And it goes from one movie to another. And as you're seeing it on the spire, the choreographer, you know, the stuntmen are doing the same thing on the platform to really, you know, like make it real and realize, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought that'd be great. And they could do that with, you know, the prequels. They could do that with the sequels, you know, 10, 15-minute show. But it would create that level of tangibility and just kind of like, you know, like that energy, that kineticness that land is missing.
Yeah.
And everybody likes a good lightsaber battle. And so like, I've never wondered, I've always wondered why that's not there. Like lightsaber battles are, you know, that's Star Wars. I mean, you know, you have the Force, but lightsabers, you know, but we haven't seen a choreographed lightsaber fight, like a really good one. I know they had the Kylo Ren and Rey one on the platform, you know, above the speeder bikes, but like you're saying, like integrate all of the saga into it.
Yes.
And do better. Like just do better, Disney, because there are Star Wars fans out there who are really passionate about lightsaber battles. And you can, I mean, everybody's seen them. And there's the fan films, you know, you got the Darth Maul fan films, the Mando fan films. There's so many out there where they just put on these like epic alternative fights that weren't in the movies. And I'm like Disney, like you have the ability to do this. You have the money. Like give it to the fans, because I think, you know, like you would just make fans really happy by doing that. And
100%.
I don't know.
You could have a lightsaber fight exactly in the same platform that Rey and Kylo fight of like Kenobi and Anakin. That'd be dope. That'd be really, really dope. You can have Luke and Vader up there, you know. Yep. I mean, it'd be sick, dude. I mean, that would the fans would go nuts for something like that, you know. Mm-hmm. I do think it's a positive move that we're getting that Smuggler's Run update with Mando and Grogu. I think that's a smart move. I hope that's a sign of more of those kind of things to come, that they can swap out various eras or what have you. The only problem with that attraction, though, is that you have Hondo sitting there in the very front. Unless they can maybe move him or hide him for if they do certain eras where he's not involved. I don't know. That's an issue. I do know, though, with our Haunted Mansion holiday here at Disneyland, they swap the animatronics out. Like when you go down into the graveyard, there's a guy. Usually, there's a guy with his dog there and holding a lamp. But for a Haunted Mansion holiday, it's Jack Skellington. So I mean, I guess they can swap them out with some other character, or just take them out and just cover it up or something.
No, but George, this is again right. This is a no-brainer, right? Like swap them out with Han or Lando, or have Han and Lando,
right?
Exactly. And don't tell anybody. Like people, guests just show up one day, and instead of it being Hondo, Han and Lando are up there, cracking jokes at each other.
Oh man, it'd be great. It'd be absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, good moves overall. But Disney, if you're watching this by any chance, you see this, come on, let's get Florida some love. Let's get it over there too. You know what I'm saying? And let's ramp this up. Let's get more and more of this kind of stuff, dude. I mean, like Anakin Skywalker is hugely popular. People love Hayden Christensen. I mean, why not incorporate his character more into this land? It's like one of the best characters in Star Wars, I think. So. Yeah, we'll see. We'll absolutely see. But Italiano, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, just everything. It's very interesting the route that Disney is kind of going with Star Wars in the parks, because it's they're adding Luke, they're adding a new kind of segment to the the nighttime entertainment package for Galaxy's Edge. So it's like slowly but surely they're getting there. I still wish that they would kind of pick up a little bit on that, the speed to get things done. As you had mentioned, OG, with Mando and Grogu coming into Smuggler's Run. So it's at least Disney is recognizing the fact that stuff needs to be done. It's just why it's taking so long, I don't know. But also, too, I've been getting like a connection from up above. I didn't know what it was until I got the frequency. So.
There it is. Drunk Chewy. You got to have a drunk Chewy. Come on, let's make it happen, Disney. Let's make it happen. George, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Yeah, there we go. Slimer, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Yes, sir. One last thing before I can tell you where you can find me on social media. Look, Disney, stop dragging your feet on this. You guys just need to commit 100%. Yep. The Star Wars fans are committed. They're waiting for you at the altar. You're not showing up to the altar. Like you've already said yes. All right. So quit dragging your feet. Let's go. Give everybody what they want. Mustafar, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Lando, Leia. Just commit already and everything be over. You wouldn't hear us nag anymore. But anyways,
exactly.
You guys can find me on X at Slime Square 84. And you can find me right here in the Orange Grove Network, Orange Grove 55.
There he is. Everybody, thank you for watching this episode of OG 55. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we talked about. Galaxy's Edge, the new additions coming to Disneyland. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on them omitting the Disney World Galaxy's Edge? We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. And until the next time, have a wonderful day. And may the Force be with you.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.